Hey guys, it's Henry here and welcome back to our channel and to another episode of Apparel Academy. Now, as many of you might know, embroidery is a great way of getting some extra income on the side. In fact, many of our customers have started out doing embroidery as a part-time gig and then eventually scaled up into a full-time career. So in this episode of Apparel Academy, I want to give you 3 tips on how you can take your side hustle in embroidery and scale that into a full-time career, and what are some of the things that you should consider when doing so. Alright, so before we jump into the 3 tips that I'm going to give you, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel so you can keep up to date with future content just like this. So as I briefly mentioned before, embroidery is a great way to earn some extra income, and a lot of our customers have actually started out that way, either in their garage, in their living room, and then eventually scaled up into a full-time business. However, there are a lot of things that you need to keep in mind when scaling up into a full-time business instead of just doing this on the side, because on the side, you don't really have to take into account a lot of the expenses and a lot of the costs that might come with a full-time career in embroidery. So let's dive into the 3 tips that I'm going to give you to turn embroidery into a full-time income source. So starting off with tip number 1, which is setting a comparable revenue goal compared to your full-time job so that you can price your items accordingly. So what I've seen in this industry is some people that start off in embroidery as a side gig or as a side hustle, actually they're doing this part-time after their full-time job. So they go to their full-time job from 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and then they come back after work, and then they're either getting orders or fulfilling the orders that they have already gotten. So while this might be good to supplement your full-time income, it can really never overtake your full-time income unless you can actually guarantee that your side hustle is going to generate just as much in terms of income as your full-time job. So one of the key points here is making sure that your side hustle is actually going to cover the living expenses of your daily life before going full-time. So one of the key ways to do this is actually working backwards to calculate how many items you need to embroider, whether that's on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, to cover your daily living expenses. And the way you do that is starting off with kind of what you earn on a full-time basis and then working backwards to determine how many items you need to embroider of a particular type and what you need to charge for that item to generate the equivalent of your full-time income. Now, for some of you that are starting out in doing this on the side, it might be overwhelming to think about how do I go about calculating what I need to earn to replace my full-time job. So actually, we've made it a lot easier for you and have created a tool called the Profit Calculator, which I've linked in the card above or in the description below, where you can actually go into that tool. It's an online tool, absolutely free of charge, and you can plug in all the inputs of your overhead and other expenses that you might incur in a full-time business and determine what your target profit is on a monthly or even a yearly basis based on a variety of factors. So we actually have a video kind of showing you how to use this profit calculator that I've described in detail, and you can find that in the card above or in the description below. So in that video, I actually show you how to plug in different cost factors like what your machine costs and other overhead costs such as rent if you have any, and then also determine what you should price your items at based on what type of item you're currently doing and what the blanks cost, what the threads cost, and other supplies that might be relevant to a particular job. So that's something that you really want to kind of play around with. Again, it's absolutely free of charge, so go there and plug in the numbers that might be relevant to you and determine what your monthly and even yearly potential in profit could be. That way you can work backwards to see if that type of volume for that type of item at that particular price can actually replace your full-time income. Also, another great resource that I would give you guys is our blog on the top 10 business costs and expenses and how to reduce them. Because let's face it, if you take your part-time gig to a full-time career, you're going to incur a lot more business expenses. So you need to know what to look for and what areas you can reduce or cut back on to make sure that your expenses are under control so that you can make sure that you profit enough to replace your full-time job. Finally, on this point, I will give you guys several questions that you should ask yourself before going full-time. First off, ask yourself, how much were you able to make in embroidery doing this on a part-time basis? This is super important because it helps set the benchmark for what you should compare against, and you should definitely increase that number if you go full-time. Second, using the profit calculator tool that I have given you, calculate how many items and at what cost, at what price will you charge those items to be able to replace or supplement your part-time income and turn that into a full-time income. And the final question to ask, which I will actually dive into further detail in the next point, is do you have the right processes and people in place so that you can scale your business once you do decide to go full-time? All right, so moving on to tip number 2, which is the 2 P's, processes and people. Once you decide to make the transition from part-time to full-time doing embroidery, you will need to make sure that you have the right processes and people in place to make sure that you can scale your business. This is because going full-time isn't just as simple as flipping a switch, and you need to actually make sure that you have those things in place to be able to turn out higher volume orders. For example, here's some questions that you should be asking yourself at this stage. Are you equipped to handle more orders by yourself or with your current process? Because let's face it, when you go full-time, you might be hit with an influx of orders because now you have more time to spend on marketing, now you have more time to gain new customers. So you need to make sure that you have the capacity to take on these extra orders and that your quality or turnaround time is not going to deteriorate just because you have an influx of new orders. If you don't have the capacity to take on the influx of new orders on your own, you might want to consider hiring additional help to be able to scale your business. So if that's you and you're looking to scale your business with additional help, I've actually linked in the card above and in the link below a conversation I recently had with one of our customers who is actually considering about scaling her business and is just overwhelmed by the influx of new orders that she can't do by herself and thinking about how she can scale her business further by hiring additional help. So check that out and kind of learn about the best practices in the process of hiring additional help for your embroidery business, and let me know in the comments below if that was helpful. Another question that you should ask yourself is, can you handle the marketing and business operations alongside running the actual machine? So obviously, as you turn your embroidery business into a full-time job, you will need to market more to be able to gain that additional business. So if you need help with marketing, check out the link that I put in the description below to help you with best practices in marketing your embroidery business. Another consideration that I would tell you in this point is think about the inefficiencies and problems that you faced in your embroidery process when you were just doing this on a part-time basis. Because as you turn from a part-time basis to a full-time basis in embroidery, those issues and problems that you faced before are only going to magnify. So consider optimizing your process and fix some of the errors or inefficiencies that you had in your processes before going full-time. And actually, I've linked in the description below several key things that you should consider in how to run your embroidery operations efficiently, and what are some ways that you can maximize the efficiency in running a particular job on your machine. Finally, because of the influx of orders from marketing and doing this on a full-time basis, you do need to consider having the right tools and equipment in place so that you can scale your business efficiently. This brings me to my third and final tip, which is investing in reliable equipment. When you're going from a part-time side gig to a full-time business in embroidery, you do need to make sure that your equipment can run around the clock 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if need be. Not only do you need to invest in durable equipment that can run around the clock so that you can be efficient in your full-time gig, but also you need to invest in the right equipment that can fulfill your needs in terms of what you're looking to embroider. This is why it's so important to know and have a good understanding of what your customer base wants and what are the items you're looking to specialize in. For example, if you're looking to do patches, you do want a larger embroidery area so that you can fit more patches into one single run, into one single hoop, so that you don't have to re-hoop as often and be able to churn out many patches. If you're looking to do caps, you want to invest in a machine that can do not only caps on the front, but perhaps even on the sides from ear to ear, so that you can do a 270-degree rotation and 3 different designs on 3 sides of the cap in one single run without re-hooping. That time saving in re-hooping will save you tens of minutes that can add up to hours over the course of several hundred caps. Also, if you're looking to do bulkier items like golf bags and jackets, especially Carhartt jackets and Letterman jackets, you might want a machine that has a larger clearance space underneath the machine head to accommodate easier fitting for those type of items. Finally, choosing the right equipment does not only mean the equipment itself, but also the right brand and partner to scale your business with. Because you're taking your embroidery business from a side hustle to a full-time income source, you want to make sure that you have the right manufacturer and brand of equipment to scale with so that the support team is always there for you, because let's face it, your needs as a full-time embroiderer is only going to increase because you're doing a lot more projects, a lot more variety of things that you might need assistance on. And that's precisely why here at Ricoma we offer 7 days a week and after-hour support to not only accommodate those embroiderers who are starting out in this business as a side hustle, but to also grow along with those embroiderers that decide to turn this into a full-time job and therefore need a lot more kind of support and training to scale their business. And on top of that, we have different support groups that you can get access to so that you're not only learning from us, but from other expert embroiderers that have been doing this for a long time. All right, guys, that's it for us for today. Many of our customers have actually transitioned from a side hustle to a full-time role in embroidery. In fact, thousands of them have been able to do that with our help and guidance. So make sure you take these 3 tips into consideration when you're deciding how to turn your side hustle in embroidery into your full-time bread and butter. And by the way, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know which one of these tips you found helpful in turning your side hustle in embroidery into a full-time gig. All right, guys, so I hope you found all this information helpful. As always, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. I also want to remind you, join our free Facebook group, Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery. This is one of the resources that I mentioned before where you can learn from other embroiderers who have been experts in the industry for 10 to 20 years. I've put the link to that Facebook group in the description below. Also, I want to remind you to follow us on Instagram at RicomaHQ. We post here daily so you can keep up to date with the latest trends happening in the world of decorated apparel. All right, as always, thank you guys so much for watching and see you guys next time.